It's time for Wretched Radio with Todd Friel.
What is the best day to open your church? This is Wretched Radio, the shot heard round the evangelical world, and I suspect in the halls of government in California, Grace Community Church deciding to defy the government and do church on Sunday. Full-blown orchestra, organ. That was nice. Congregation, the place was packed, overflow seating, and it appeared to be a change of position on the part of Grace Community Church. And I would agree it was and it wasn't. Todd, it can't be both. I think it was. It was both a change and not a change. For months, Grace Community Church has been saying, we're going to monitor this. At this time, it seems to us, the best thing to do is to comply with the government and simply close it off to make sure that people are safe based on scientism. What the experts are telling us, Grace Community Church has concluded those estimations were overblown. Furthermore, the government, which appears to be making plans into 2021 to keep things closed down, has crossed a line in the opinion of Grace Community Church. Therefore, they now are deciding to worship. And that is both a change and not a change. I think they've been entirely consistent from the beginning. Some people have been saying, hey, if the government has been overstepping its authority, which it did, why did Grace Community Church not take this stance in the beginning? And the answer to that question was, it was different in the beginning. History happens in time. There was different information. There were different circumstances, different considerations. And at that time, it seemed best to the elders of Grace Community Church in Los Angeles, California, to comply. When the government said this, then they said that, then they said this, then they said that, and as the science doesn't seem as reliable as it was once believed to be, and because the government is now saying we're going to kind of keep things closed down and buttoned up till 2021, the elders of Grace Community Church made the decision that's the line that is crossed. They concur with Romans 13 and 1 Peter 2. We submit to the government unless they tell us to sin. Previously, they believed that the government was not telling them to sin. They were telling them to do something that was wise and presumably good for people. Now, which is different than yesterday, which is different than the day before yesterday, which is certainly different than May, the circumstances are different, and so now they've applied this decision. That isn't a change. It's not a flip-flop. It is exactly in alignment with what they have been saying all along. They haven't changed. The circumstances have. So now that raises a question for a lot of churches that rightly esteem Dr. John Macarthur as being a man of wisdom. Should we take the lead of Grace Community Church and do likewise? Is it now time for all churches in California, let's just leave it to that sunshiny state, is it time to defy the government throughout the state? Every Bible-believing church needs to make the same decision as Grace Community Church. And I think the answer to that question is no, they don't. From the beginning of the COVID business here on Wretched Radio, we have also had a position on what a church should do. And I have been very firm on my opinion about what every single church should do regarding COVID. Let me take you back in time, if you don't mind. This goes back all the way to March the 12th. This was my considered, not opinion, fact, what every church should do in response to COVID.
Should Christians not assemble as we are commanded to do on Sunday mornings? I now would like to lay down the definitive Christian response. You don't need to go anywhere else. I'm just going to give you, here it is. This is the way we should all be living in light of coronavirus. Should we cancel church? What about communion? Do we shake one another's hands? Do we go to work at all? Here's the biblical answer. This is just going to settle it once and for all. Whatever. That's it. Whatever. Different Christians are going to have different takes on this subject, and I don't think we should be making a law where there isn't a law, perhaps, and we certainly shouldn't be shooting other Christians when we disagree on issues like this, which seems to be an increasing trend in the circular firing squad we call evangelical Christianity.
That was March 12th. That was my position then. That's my position now. Every church needs to make the best decision for their church. This from March 12th.
I am seeing this more and more, and it's increasingly grievous. It seems there are no rules anymore about judging anybody for anything. You say two wrong words and rah! You say something that doesn't maybe just hit it exactly in the bullseye, and you're out of here, pal. What happened to a little bit of grace for our brothers and sisters who maybe don't take the exact position on a secondary, or in this case, maybe a tertiary issue? Yikes, we sure do whiff some chum in the water, and we are just all over it. Can't we do better than cable news? Nevertheless, there are some people who are already at war over issues about coronavirus. Should you cancel the church service? My answer is that's up to you.
And that is still my position. Did John Macarthur and Grace Community Church make the best decision about when to open their church? The answer is yes. Is that the best decision for your church? Maybe, maybe not. And I think John Macarthur would say the same thing. It is a local church issue. And every church has a set of considerations. They are in a different place. They've got different members. They've got different ages. And they maybe are in a different place where COVID is hotter than other places. There are all kinds of individual considerations. And your church, I believe, should make that consideration for themselves. And so I think John Macarthur and Grace Community Church absolutely made the right decision for themselves. And you can make the right decision for yourself. To demonstrate, I think we've been consistent on this subject. This is from 518, where we spent a fair amount of time talking about Romans 14.
Likewise, those who think the lockdown should continue should not pass judgment on those who question the wisdom of the government's ongoing restrictions. Do you see the brilliance of the Bible? It is a two-way street here. Unlike our postmodern culture, tolerance, it runs in one direction, my way. You disagree, you either get on my lane going in my direction, or we are going to knock you out of the race. Not in Christendom. We love. And then we spend time with one another, working through it, reasoning through it, talking through it, not yelling, being quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger, modeling Christ-like humility in how we react to the plans of leaders. Even if you don't agree with it, there's humility that we need to possess. Everybody's an epidemiologist these days. Everybody figures out the facts the way that they have figured them out, and they've got it right. Well, so do other people, and that means whether I really believe that I'm really, really right, and I do think I am, I nevertheless have humility. Nevertheless. And I listen.
That has been my position all along. So I don't think John Macarthur and Grace Community Church have changed at all. I don't think that we have changed at all. Furthermore, there might be some people who would say, hey, wait a second. Haven't you been saying that we need to obey the government regarding masks? And my answer to that has been yes. But wearing a mask is not the same as doing a church service. doing a church service, an entirely different activity. Wearing a mask is, I don't think there's any contradiction in holding both positions. That I think we submit to the government even when they give us rules or laws that we don't particularly care for. But when they step over the line of the authority of the realm of the church, commanding Christians to disobey the true commander-in-chief, God, that then becomes an Acts 4, Acts 5 scenario, where the government now is indeed overstepping its bounds of authority and telling us to sin. We see this in Daniel 6. When Daniel was commanded to sin, he forbade. So did the preachers in Acts 4 and 5. And so can we question, what is the best date for your church to open? This is Wretched Radio.
Hello, Maria. This is Todd Friel from your auto insurance company, noticing you're not taking advantage of any of our life insurance policies. Really? Oh, really? You're not afraid to die? That's funny. Listen to this clip from Paul Washer.
I'm talking about you.
So what do you think of that, Maria? Maria?